So I might be a complete idiot. I mean, I do advertise myself as a professional idiot on this YouTube channel, but here's the reason why. It's because I bought a needing some TLC 2011 27-inch iMac. I didn't realize the table was this high. As you can see, based on the fact that it's missing its glass bezel, this thing could use just a little TLC. Except I also kind of lied because I didn't buy one needing some TLC 2011 27-inch iMac. Yeah, that's right. There's more than one, and I did not buy two. Nor did I buy three. But yes, I was stupid enough to buy four. There, now you actually might be able to see me a little better with all of these iMacs on display. But yes, I bought four, needing a little TLC 2011 27-inch iMacs. And these are mostly equipped with identical specs. There's only one outlier that's slightly different. The majority of these, three of them, have an Intel Core i5 that boosts up to like, what, 2.87 gigahertz or something like that. 4 gigs of memory and a terabyte hard drive in them. And then I think they have some Radeon graphics, if I'm not mistaken. Where's the label on them? Does not label which graphics it has, but you know what? That doesn't really matter that much because given the vintage of these machines, it's not like you're gonna be doing anything graphics intensive on them anymore, so it doesn't really all that much matter. 3 of them are equipped with 4 gigs of memory. One of them, this one right here, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this one right here, all the way on the end, is equipped with 8 gigs of memory. That's pretty much the only difference. And in terms of the general conditions of these, they're mostly in identical condition where could use a little cleanup. I see a few scratch marks here and there, which kind of sucks, but I mean, it's what happens when you buy old computers and such. They come with scratch marks and yeah, it's not exactly ideal. Unfortunately though, one of my 4 gig iMacs happens to have a really scratched up display panel, which, yeah, that means I'm probably gonna have to replace it. And that process has been real fun, as we'll explain in a little bit of detail. But as we go through and get these iMacs in fully working and desirable condition, I'll explain the story of what every iMac actually needs. Without further ado, I guess we better get started on working on these and figuring out what parts we need to order, other than the obvious. They all need new glass covers. I was already one step ahead of that, and I've already ordered those panels. So let's clear off the desk, except for one iMac, and we'll get started. Desk is cleared. This one in particular is actually the one with 8 gigs of memory, and the reason why I'm starting off with this one first is because it'll be the easiest to work on, actually. Primarily because the few things that this thing actually needs is a glass bezel, obviously, and then everything after that, all I need to do is source a power cable for this, because none of the iMacs came with a power cable in the box, and then clean her up, and she should be all set and ready to go, because I mean, it already has macOS on it, though in fairness I probably should actually update it to something a little more modern so there's not too many broken compatibility things. Oh yeah, I also should mention that this does run. It actually does turn on and boots into macOS, so all of them do, to my surprise, and thankfully there's no iCloud accounts left on them. It's just all I need to do is update the OSs available for this, and hopefully we'll have some nice iMacs ready to resell for hopefully more money. That's the whole reason why I bought 4 of them. I should also have you note that I picked these up for basically under $30 each. Where I primarily got hosed was just shipping these up from Oklahoma all the way here to Michigan. Because that was like, what, $200 to ship these 4? Albeit, I bought these for under $30 each, so I got a pretty solid deal on it. But I'm hoping that with all the upgrades that I do to these machines, I'll be able to sell them for what they should sell for reasonably back on eBay. Although, ideally, I'd rather do Facebook Marketplace and sell them here local so I don't have to worry about packaging these things up again. And hopefully just make a little money off of this. As well as also another YouTube video, because why not? There's no tech news, anything interesting going on, so I figure why not fix some computers that kind of need a little love. And so without further ado, yeah, let's start working on this thing. Doesn't need a new display. I see some marks, but I don't think it's an actual scratch. It's not an actual gouge. Although I should confirm, so let me unplug my 21.5-inch iMac, or no, it's just a 20-inch actually. And now we'll also grab our handy-dandy keyboard, and we'll have to pair the Mighty Mouse to it, unless I could try finding one of my Magic Mice and just connecting that. Might actually be faster if I do that, although I don't know where my lightning to USB-A cable is, because I don't use USB-A anymore for the most part. It may be a prop for the drive set, but it's technically holding my black lightning to USB-A cable here that came with my Space Gray Magic Mouse. That should do the trick. Starts right up, albeit that hard drive is a bit slow. I do wish that I could put in SSDs into this thing. It's just, the problem is these already have 1 terabyte hard drives, and I really don't want to swap it with a $70 1 terabyte SSD for each of these machines. I'm trying to stay within budget so that way I can make some money off of these computers, hopefully. And I don't know, an SSD for these things is like $70, and I've already spent around $50 for each individual glass panel for these things. And yeah, we boot into macOS. El Capitan does mean, let me see, mouse is wirelessly paired with this Mac. Okay, so in theory, I should be able to unplug. Why are we so slow on the tracking? Let me see. So yeah, if we take a look at the system about this Mac, we have a 2.7 gigahertz Intel Core i5, 8 gigs of DDR3 memory, and for graphics, we have AMD Radeon HD 6770M with 512 megabytes of memory. And for storage, we have a 1 terabyte hard drive. And for the most part, I really don't need to do anything else to modify the components in this, because honestly, 8 gigs of memory really is enough for macOS. As much as a lot of PC hardware enthusiasts will, oh, 8 gigs is not enough, you need to get 16. But what they don't know is that when it comes to macOS is so freaking memory efficient, it really doesn't need the 16 gigs of memory. Especially considering that now that this machine has aged so much and power intensive programs have now gotten so power intensive that you're not typically running them on a machine this old anymore. This thing is still perfectly fine for like web browsing or document editing, that type of stuff. Simple tasks that a standard budget computer can do anyways. And so with that, you don't really need a lot of memory to do all of that type of stuff. The only time you really need a lot of memory is if you're video editing, music production, which again, you're not likely to buy this machine for that type of thing anymore, given that this is now, what, 14 years old? The specs in it are just fine, and honestly, I don't need to change the memory. The hard drive, while I don't really like to see our hard drives in a desktop iMac anymore, the thing is, the hard drive is not that slow in this machine anymore. We'll find out when I update this to High Sierra. I think this iMac should support High Sierra, but I'll double check. I want to get this on the latest version of macOS I possibly can. Nonetheless, it works, and I don't need to make any changes or repairs to the inside, so luckily, one of my 4 glass panels have arrived, so I'll probably be installing that on this one. So let's shut this thing down and we'll start cleaning her up, and then after that I'm going to update the software to whatever the latest version of macOS this thing can support, so that way it is most compatible with any other web services or that type of stuff, because as computers age, it can break compatibility with certain software in ways you don't expect. So alright, let us shut this down. We'll clean off the display real quick, and then we're going to apply the 1 glass bezel that came. And yep, here's the new glass panel, and I don't think it requires any adhesive to stick on, because I'm seeing a bunch of magnets around the chassis here though. Hopefully I don't need to apply adhesive, because I would appreciate it if I didn't have to. Clean off the display before we overlay it with the glass panel. That, for the most part, is pretty much cleaned up. Let's see, where's the opening on this? Right here. Oh, nice, there's a peel on it. So I shouldn't have to clean this off. Oh, I can feel all that static. Is there any way I can ground it? Guess that's one way to store trash. Because that had a peel on it, I shouldn't need to clean the inside here. So let's see. So we got some hooks right there. That helps with the lining. Oops, come on. And what do you know? It just magnetically snaps in. No need for adhesive. Oh, do I miss this design? I really hate that modern iMacs, they require this adhesive to keep the panel on. And it's like, this magnetic design works perfectly fine. So, all right, that case, wow, let's turn this so you guys can see it. Let's pull this peel off here. Oh my goodness, that is so slick. That looks so good with this panel back on. So now we pretty much just have to clean up the rest of the chassis, and I'll do some software downloads and installation, and then hopefully we can get this running the latest version of whatever macOS it supports. And then I just need to source its own dedicated power cord, and she's ready for resale. Awesome! There is so much writing all over this. I hate that they write over a lot of these used ones. I get it. It helps identify stock numbers, but in my opinion, just get one of those wire tags and wire it around like this loop here. So that way you don't have to leave markings all over this, because now I got to clean off this Sharpie with all these numbers. I got to remove all these stickers. It doesn't have to be this difficult. Too shabby. At this point, I just gotta figure out what I'm gonna do to get the rest of the sticker residue off. I'm not gonna focus on that right now. What I'm going to focus on now is do some quick research to figure out what the latest version of macOS this thing natively supports. I'm not gonna patch it to something newer because that could potentially cause a few more extra bugs and issues, and assuming a non-tech savvy user buys this, I really do not want to leave them with having to figure out how to diagnose all of the different bugs within the patcher. As a result, I'm just going to update this to whatever the latest version of macOS this thing natively supports, so that way there are no bugs. Just maybe potential compatibility issues depending on what Apple broke in future software. I digress. I guess it's time to do the software patching, and then I need to order a power cable still. And my apologies for not exactly the greatest angle to showcase this, and that's primarily because I can't really get OBS to download and function on this properly, so this will have to do, but nonetheless, okay, the patcher tool's downloaded. I'm going to check my USB drive real quick to make sure that it is okay to erase. And yep, this is perfectly okay to erase. That's good. We are first going to open up our... Oh wait, no, it has to be added to the library first. So, oops. Let's see, scroll up. Go to downloads, High Sierra Patcher Tool, and all right, now that we have this downloaded, even though this is technically a patcher tool, if the Mac natively supports the version of the software you're trying to install, it'll typically work without needing any patches required, obviously. I need this tool so that way I can actually download Mac OS, and because it's doing its security thing, the typical Mac OS security thing, I need to quickly come into here. Yep, all right, open anyway. So now it has the ability to open it. And all right, macOS Patcher is hopefully installing. Yes, open. I do need to download a copy of macOS High Sierra, and thankfully, this tool has it integrated right there. So I'll just send you to the downloads folder, save location, and I have no idea how long this is going to take. Kind of nice if they provided a status bar. At this point, I'll just check back in when the macOS High Sierra is fully downloaded, because this is going to take a bit. Alright, pardon me having to quiet the volume down, but that's because everyone's asleep at this point, because it took forever to get this to download, but nonetheless, it's downloaded, so let's see what it reads here. macOS High Sierra has successfully downloaded and has been saved to the downloads folder. Would you like to use this to create a... Yes, I would. So we are 100% doing that, and I have selected the USB drive to do so, so alright, let us start the operation. Warning, all contents on the disk will be erased. I used this for a Windows install on a PC earlier, so I really don't care. I can just create a new USB if I need to, so yes, we are going to do that, and I gotta type in my password. And now it is in the process of creating a bootable installer, and once it does that, we'll unplug the USB drive, we'll plug it into the 27-inch iMac, and with that, we will install macOS High Sierra. Exciting. All right. And that was quick. It thinks that it errors out, but I know its behavior. It actually did successfully create the installer. This is not my first rodeo, so. All right, nonetheless, the installer is created. We can go through here and eject. That's the Patrick tool. This is what I'm really intending on erasing, so all right, let's do that. Okay, and now we get to transfer that to the other iMac. All right, so I left the drive plugged here into my keyboard since it has a built-in USB hub, so we'll just leave it as such. And I found an extra C13 power cable because, fun fact, no, the iMac does not use its own proprietary connection. These iMacs actually use a standard C13 power connector, the same power connector that you plug into any PC, effectively, unless that PC has an external power supply. Yeah, it's a standard power connector, actually, which is pretty cool. But nonetheless, all right, we got that plugged in, so now what we're going to do is we are going to boot the iMac up, but a little special trick is involved. We have to hold down the option key to select which drive we're going to boot in, because we don't want to boot into the 1 terabyte hard drive. That's not going to allow us to install macOS. But our thumb drive here will, so we're going to hold the option key to select our operating system. So hold option, and let's power her on. All right, we got a bunch of different things to try out here. Try to angle this so you guys can see it okay. And effectively what we're going to do is, one, hope the... We have no mouse. But actually, can I use the arrow keys? Yep, okay. So we're gonna slide over to our USB drive because we want to boot into macOS High Sierra. That would be lovely. All right, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna select our language, which is English. We are going to reinstall macOS. Ah, our mouse is working again. Awesome. All right, so we're gonna reinstall macOS. All right, macOS High Sierra. That's exactly what we want. Recovery server could not be contacted. Yep, that's what I figured. This is an unusual error. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So there's nothing important on the main hard drive, so we're gonna erase that just to make sure, and that should include erasing El Capitan because we don't want that on here. Reinstall macOS. It shouldn't need Wi-Fi. Why does it want to connect to Wi-Fi? Okay, that's a bit odd. Yeah, for some reason it wants to be connected to the internet. I don't know why. There's always a few weird bugs when trying to do this, so no, it does not want to boot. Well, it's failing to connect to anything, so let's try hooking up Ethernet, see if that does the trick. Okay, so now that we're hooked up to the internet, let's see if it does anything. I've never had an issue installing macOS High Sierra. It's never given me an error like this, but I hope it works. This computer natively supports High Sierra. One way or another, we're gonna get it on High Sierra. Recovery server could not be contacted. Is my install corrupt? Let's see if we restart, because I'm willing to bet that I've erased macOS El Capitan. If I had to guess, it's probably going to come up with an error because the main drive's empty. It's either that or it's automatically going to boot into the USB. I don't know. Okay, so we appear to be in the recovery screen. New copy of OS 10. So it looks like this is primarily, yeah, it's going off of El Capitan from the looks of it. I don't know. Let's see what happens if we try to continue. No, it needs an Apple ID information. Okay. Yeah, so it will not let me download a copy of El Capitan. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay. We'll try one more time and see if it's just a weird bug. Because if it's not, then I'm going to have to try to re-download and install the High Sierra patcher. It doesn't seem like it understands the copy of, so it looks like I'm going to have to attempt to download a new one. I can deal with that, so I'll just shut down for now, and I guess I'll download a new copy of macOS High Sierra and try this again at some point, but right now it is extremely late at night and I'd like to get some sleep. Alright, so it's been a few days and yeah, I still haven't successfully managed to get macOS High Sierra to boot on this thing, and that's a problem. So I am going to resort to the only other method I know left, and I've had issues in the past kind of similar to what's going on. Basically, a few years ago, I tried to install an operating system on a 2000-something black MacBook, and I really couldn't get anything to install on it unless I use this here old 2011 MacBook Pro, which is actually the first Mac I ever used. So I have since begged my sister to borrow this real quick so that way I can yet again pull out the hard drive on this and use the firmware of this motherboard to install macOS High Sierra, and then in theory, once it's actually installed, I should be able to pop that hard drive back into this thing, and in theory, it should have High Sierra booted to it. But this means, yet again, we need to tear apart some Macs and pull out some hard drives. And considering that this is an iMac we get to tear into, oh, this will be fun. So now the hard drive is connected to the MacBook, albeit not in an ideal way. Yeah, okay, I'm not liking that too much. I'm stretching it too much, I can't do that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to remove it from here. Let's see if I can do it without too much of a hassle. Awesome. Okay. Let's plug it in. Hope she powers on. Yes. Power! In theory, it should be mad that there's no operating system. So I'm gonna shut this down real quick. And it sees the drive. Good. Figured I'd bring the camera over here so you can see what I'm doing better. Though I'm getting a bit nervous because this drive is not spinning. Is there any other power things that I'm not aware of? No, it just worked off of SATA power. I hope this thing can see that drive because I would really appreciate it. Awesome. Okay, we made it to reinstall. Please tell me you'll work, because I would very much appreciate that. So this was the step we could never get past. See if we get past it this time. What? Recovery server could not be what? That's bogus. Wow, so I am really gonna have to get creative here in how I go about this. I think I have an idea. Okay, so obviously something is wrong with the installer to where it wants to be connecting to some recovery server, I guess. But here's an idea that I have. What if I can somehow trick the iMac into booting into this, because this already has a copy of macOS High Sierra on it. Get that to install the firmware on it, and then when I remove it, I don't know. I'm spitballing ideas at this point, but it's not like I've got a lot of options to work with at this point, because if it doesn't even work on the MacBook here, and I've always gotten it to work on this. Ooh. Let's not rip any cables now. So here's the thing. There are two SATA devices in this iMac. The main hard drive, but then also this DVD drive. Yeah, there's a SATA... Okay, there's SATA power there, but where's SATA data? You're gonna have to make me disassemble this one too. Come on. That's not SATA, is it? No, it's not. Well, that shoots that plan down. I can't believe they used their own proprietary connector for this. That's because it's SATA in the 09 iMac, but not this. This is not SATA. All right, scratch that plan down the toilet. And I guess we're gonna have to come up with a new plan of attack. And so as it turns out, I didn't need to create the bootable installer at all, because I just pulled out one of my other iMacs from the pile I have over there and just downloaded the install macOS High Sierra thing here, and it actually appears to be working. So let's see how far we can get. Let me see. Yes, I have read. We're going to install it here on this drive. It was that simple all along. Yeah, it's installing. Okay, so I guess we have a new plan. And that new plan is effectively I am going to rip out the erased hard drive from the other iMac and probably swap the hard drive from the one with the broken display in, so that way it at least has a working hard drive and I can actually get macOS working on it. And so that way when I have to deal with the problematic display iMac, I can also troubleshoot that hard drive in the meantime, trying to get macOS to install on it, because now this is getting a bit out of hand. So okay, I'm getting somewhere with the macOS High Sierra install. Awesome. It's just going to be a royal pain to get High Sierra to actually install on that one hard drive. Hopefully I can do it. In fact, the theory I'm thinking is if I get High Sierra, all of the firmware running on, say, this iMac, maybe it will also have the recovery software necessary to potentially download a copy of High Sierra in recovery mode. And if I can do that, then I might be able to get the hard drive working again, but I don't know, because at least I keep getting that network error of, oh, we can't connect to the recovery server. I don't know at this point. So we're just trying a bunch of things and seeing what works. But as of right now, this is working. It's actually installing. Awesome. Now I gotta figure out why my iPhone does not have enough storage. And I figured in the meantime, well, this thing is actually in the process of installing the update. How about we pull out the other iMacs and get some memory upgrades going, since the RAM actually came in today, which is awesome. And I've actually already taken the liberty of installing the memory for this one. So this is now updated to 16 gigabytes of memory. This is done, but I still got two other machines I need to do. Let's go do that. And it jumped to, it wants to take about 9 hours and 2 minutes to install. Lovely. And the memory upgrades are complete. So now that the memory upgrades are complete, at this point, it's primarily just 3 of my iMacs. I need to get macOS High Sierra installed. And then the 4th one, I need to figure out what's going on with that display because actually, there's a bit of an update on the new display that's coming and it's not a good one. All right, it is the next day, and we happen to have had more glass panels arrive. So as I am updating the second iMac to macOS High Sierra, which, oh yeah, where I left off last time, the other iMac actually did finally install macOS High Sierra. It just took a couple hours because these are old computers. I am just in the process of updating the rest of my iMacs to High Sierra, and then I still gotta figure out what's up with that OneDrive because I can't get it to install for some stupid reason. But nonetheless, we actually had more parts arrive, which are the rest of the glass panels for all of these. And because 2 of the iMacs are at least ready to go, I'm just going to quickly clean up their displays and then install the new panels. And then tomorrow, I plan on bringing home some acetone to actually assist in cleaning up the aluminum. Acetone's a bit of a nasty chemical, but hey, that's what happens when you have some insane residue left on these things. You have to use acetone to get that stuff off. Hopefully I don't completely melt the aluminum. I mean, I've cleaned aluminum parts before with acetone. It shouldn't be that much of a problem, but all right, nonetheless, let's actually get this display cleaned up so I can install yet another glass panel. And then once I bring home the acetone tomorrow and get this iMac, and then there's one other one all cleaned up, then I'll be ready to list them on Facebook Marketplace and eBay and see how much money I can make off of them. Actually the one that I got High Sierra to install. Got the lock tab on the back of it for some stupid reason. Beautiful. So now all I need is just some acetone to clean up all of this nasty residue on it, and she is ready for sale. And so we have an update. I decided, for whatever reason, whenever I use the installer on that, it will not install to this iMac. This is the 8 gig one with the hard drive functioning a little wonky because I accidentally erased it in an attempt to update this to macOS High Sierra. For whatever reason, I just could not get it to install with the USB bootable installer that I created on that. However, last time when I did the High Sierra thing for the whole Black Book project, I actually created the bootable installer on this. So I decided, okay, I still have the application on here to create the bootable installer. I created said bootable installer, plugged it into here, and would you look at that? We're now installing. How lovely! So there, all 4 iMacs are about to have a macOS High Sierra on it. This is just beginning the stages of installation. Just gotta wait for its couple hours of about 17 seconds remaining, and she'll be all set to go. Oh, and I should probably show you the damage because this is the one with the panel that has a puncture mark. The camera would focus, so you might see that white mark there. That's not supposed to be there. That is actual damage. And then you can obviously see this scratch right here, and it just doesn't look good, and I don't want to sell this to anyone with this type of panel damage because I would get irritated with it personally. So luckily, another update for this, I found a new display panel, and it's actually cheaper. Now I just gotta hope that that thing arrives and it's in decent condition. From what I could tell in the images, it looks good enough. That's all I could see from images. Hopefully the panel's good enough and that it's not cheaper because it's in worse condition. But nonetheless, that is our latest update. And I figured I'd just make this quick little clip demonstrating how exactly I'm gonna be cleaning these iMacs now that I'm finally getting to it. So I have here said can of acetone. I am wearing my rubber gloves. I am not inside the house. I am just in a garage where there's a concrete floor in case I spill that, which is highly likely to happen. And I am first doing it on this iMac here with the broken display. The display still needs to get replaced. I'm still waiting for the part to come in. And yeah, we're just going to do a test clean on this. So got the can of acetone here, got some cotton balls to help me apply it, and my rubber gloves that actually don't fit. It's just these were what was available in the house. This is not something you should take lightly, because if you actually get this on your skin, it is the equivalent to poison ivy. It's some nasty stuff. You don't want to get this on your skin. And you also want to be careful where you apply this and how you apply this, because again, this is some nasty stuff. But I digress. Let's see if we can clean off some of this nastiness up here and various other bits of adhesive and all that on the back. And would you look at that? One acetone wipe later, no more tape, no more stickers. Just some Sharpie residue left over though. I don't think I'm ever gonna get that out. And would you look at what arrived in the mail today? Power cables, one for each iMac. And at this point, pretty much all of the iMac restoration is complete. I mean, I didn't have to do too much. I didn't have to do like full-on computer repair because of dead motherboards or non-functioning CPUs or all that. This was actually a pretty simple project, and yet it did take some time, mostly my fault due to me just not taking the time. All in all, I spent just under $700 trying to acquire these and get them back into a condition where you'd want to use them again. And honestly, these things are just running fine. I can't really think of any complaints that I could have with them. And so now that these things are cleaned up and I have power cords that a couple of them I had to slightly modify to fit because apparently someone didn't bother actually testing their product because the product didn't work without some modification. Basically, there's that ring around the end that plugs into the iMac, and that ring was not fitting properly, and so I actually had to take it to a buffing wheel to basically melt around the plastic and just sand it away so that way I could actually get it to fit. But nonetheless, the power cords now fit, albeit with some kind of unnecessary modifications. Yeah, the power cords fit. This is being run off of that power cord, and the other three have their own power cords too. They're all running High Sierra. They all have their new glass things, and then the ones that had 4 gigs of memory now have 16. And then finally, the last iMac that had the cracked display, I unfortunately never got that on camera. I thought I did, but judging by, I'm searching for the footage and I cannot find any footage of me putting the new display on. I guess I didn't film it. Oops. But even that iMac has its new display. In fact, I actually think it's this one right here. And so that basically is the end of the restoration. It's just now time to list them on Facebook Marketplace and eBay and see if I can recoup the costs of trying to buy some iMacs that are in not fully working order and get them into a state that's usable. And hopefully somebody is interested in picking up one of these old machines to do basic office work. I mean, that's been a bit of a dying trend lately, especially considering how awesome Apple Silicon is and how affordable it's gotten. And as a result, yeah, I can understand why interest in using one of these as your home computer is dying down, and also for just general office work too, because I mean, come on. The M4 Mac Mini is so affordable. It's how do you not justify it? But nonetheless, this was a pretty fun project. I'm kind of hoping that I can sell these for a high enough price that I can actually justify being able to keep one for myself myself, but I'm not entirely sure how well that's going to go. But that's pretty much going to wrap up this video here. If you want to know how much I actually make off of selling these, I'll probably leave a pinned comment down below if you're that curious, because honestly, I don't know how much these are all going to sell for. I'm just going to list them online and see what I can get for them. So yeah, if you're interested in knowing how much I'm able to sell these for, that'll be in a pinned comment when they all finally sell. And I mean, all of them have to sell unless I decide to keep one. And if that's the case, then I'll let you know in the comments down below. That's pretty much going to wrap up this video right here. So thank you for watching. Do me a favor and interact with the stuff below. Also, do me a favor and check out my Patreon page. I would very much appreciate that. This is the Random Alpha Gadgets, signing out.